March 10th, 2021 for the Business Improvement District of Yankton. You should have all received your packet, and the first order of business is action on the minutes for the August 14th, 2019 meeting. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Got a move and a second. Who's the second by?
Steve.
Thanks, Steve. So Rob, and then Steve, any questions on the minutes or changes? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the minutes signify by saying aye.
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 Same sign. The motion carries. Is there a question?
No, that's approved. Yeah, aye.
Okay, thank you, Keith. Dave, are you going to give us the occupancy tax report?
I can do that. Our year-end balance was $269,956.95. We had $102,458.88 worth of obligations that were paid out in the beginning of 21 here. Those, to get to that number, it was $89,094.68 to Mount Marty University. It was $11,136.84 to the Convention and Visitors Bureau, and it was $2,227.37 for city administration. After those payments, we have a current balance of $167,498.07, and I say current with an asterisk because we don't have the first couple months of this year's numbers included in that yet. So that number would be a little bit higher than that.
Any questions on those numbers?
Yeah, it's Rob. I have a question, and it's just basically, Dave, if you can give us a relative comparison. So the 102,000 number was basically the revenue income for 2020. I feel like that number prior was more in the 140 to 150 range. Is that roughly accurate?
So the 102,000 number was our payout. That was our obligations to those three entities. The actual revenue in 2020, I'm sorry I didn't mention this, was $111,368.35. And that compares to a 2019 revenue of $159,124.63. So pretty easy to do the math between those two. The real impact is when you start looking at what the payouts are to the three entities. And for example, Mount Marty University's payout at 80% of the prior year's revenue was down about $38,000. The payment that they were written out early this year was down about $38,000 from what it was the year prior based on the 2019 revenue.
Yeah, that's really helpful. Thanks. I guess my follow-up question would be, is our commitment to Mount Marty University just a number of years, or is it a dollar amount, or some combination of both? What have we approved as an entity?
It's both. It's 80% of prior year's revenues up until we get to the full obligation. And Chris is going to have to remind me of that, or I'm going to have to go digging through the file here. Was it 1 even, or was it 1.5? I can look here.
I was thinking it was 1.8.
1.75 or 1.8.
Yep, that makes sense. That number rings a bell. Yep.
Yes, 1.8.
So I'm just curious, if that was to take us 40 years due to reduced revenues, is that what the current commitment is? You know, I mean, I had in my head that I feel like it was going to take us, I don't know, 15 to 20 years.
Good question.
Yeah, and you know, maybe that question's for the whole group too, on somebody else's memory. And don't mean to push you, Dave.
Well, I think, Rob, you know, we anticipated our revenue to be at that 150 or greater. Right, Dave?
Yeah, so I found the memo just while you guys were talking there for a second. 15 years, 80%. It was based on average projected revenue of 120,000, and the projection was to complete that payout in 15 years to get to the 1.8.
So I'm just thinking if it takes longer than that, it would just take longer than that, and we would keep paying.
I would say that if it was going to take longer than that, you'd want to have a follow-up action supporting that, because it's not entirely clear that it doesn't say it absolutely sunsets if we're short of that number in the minutes. My conservative impression would be that it would continue to go until it got to the 1.8, and we had projected it at 15 years. But I would recommend that you have a follow-up action supporting that, just to have a record.
Then my other question would just be for the group, and this is maybe for Rakesh and Steve, and I certainly understand if you guys wouldn't want to answer the question, but does the 111 for 2024 revenues make sense to you compared to the 159 number from 2019? I mean, is that believable to you that that's kind of what we saw for 2020?
Yeah, I think 2020 is at least down by about 40% compared to year before 2019. So I think that if that number relates to about 40%, loss of income on that district, that should make sense. What does that relate to 2019?
I didn't catch all of that, but obviously it's way
Okay,
down.
what does that number relate to 2019 over 2020? What's the ratio between two?
So it's about that. You're pretty close on with your percentage. You know, just from a cash standpoint, it was it was down about $48,000 out of 160. So, you know.
Yeah. It's about 35 to 40, 35, 40.
That number's at about 30%.
Mm-hmm.
So with Rob's question,
the thing you got to remember though is when you look at these year to year, there's still some lag in how that money comes in. So it's almost like you got to look at it in 3 to 5 year increments. If you look at it year to year, that's a good number to reference, but it's but there's still some lag in there once in a while.
so with that question by Rob and need for clarification, would there be a motion to say that the Mount Marty College or the Mount Marty University obligation would extend to pay the full 1.8 million if it goes beyond the projected 15 years? We might as well clarify that now rather than in 10 years. We're trying to figure it out again.
Well, this is Steve, and I'm fine with that, but I think we're jumping way ahead of ourselves. You know, it's just really hard to predict. You know, we'll have another hotel next year, and according to Bruce, maybe 2. We're just getting way ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, I'd probably agree with that too. I feel like I agree that that's what you would do, Dan. But I'd prefer to, wait and see. We're coming off a heck of an unusual year, and might be a better question for a year or two down the road.
Okay.
Hey, this is Bruce. I have a question. Why would we only address longer? Why wouldn't we address short? I mean, I was under the impression that the bid board made a vote to give Mount Marty X number of dollars, and it was a guide at the rate how much it would, how long it would take. Why are we addressing it longer? Why not shorter? I mean, this doesn't even seem like it makes sense. I thought we gave them so much amount of money, we just had a guide to how long it would be at a certain rate we were at.
Yeah, I think
I agree with you, Bruce.
I would agree, Bruce. The
And
number.
so, yeah, if we would specify, I guess that we would specify for sure, if it's not, Dave, that the maximum is 1.8 million. Is that what you're getting at, Bruce?
Yeah, I was just under the impression that we made a unanimous decision to give 1.8 million or whatever the amount was. And at that time, at the current rate we were getting in bid money, it would equate to 15 years. So if it equates to 7 or 18, it really is irrelevant. We're given that much money.
And in reality, the way the years before last year looked, 111 isn't, it's way low, but it's still, it's not as far below 120 as 159 was above 120. So we're ahead of projection on that payout as we're going here.
All right. Well, let's not beat this horse to death. And unless there's any other questions, we'll just move on to number 3, the request from Mount Marty College. And I'll let Rob lead that unless there's somebody else that can do it better.
Yeah, no, that's fine, Dan. Thanks. I asked for that item on the agenda after I had a personal meeting with Mount Marty University and Dakota State in regard to the NAIA National Track Meet. And Chris Casson is on the line with us. I asked Chris to join us to kind of present that situation to us. Chris, can you go ahead?
I'm here. I'm just dropping my son off at daycare and I'm back now. So, yep, I'm here.
All right. Yeah, Chris, if you could just maybe lead us through the situation that occurred with the track meet and the ask that came from Dakota State on it regarding their shortfalls.
Yes. So just to kind of back up and so everybody's on the same page of what really transpired. The National Indoor Track Meet of the NAIA is hosted by Dakota State, and for the last 2 years, the last 2 years previous to this one, it was held at South Dakota State in Brookings. The South Dakota State and Brookings made the decision that they were not going to support this event for this year. And so the NAIA and Dakota State were scrambling for alternate venues to host the facility, and it was brought to Mount Marty. We thought about it as an institution and as a group, talked to several city leaders to see that it, to kind of gauge the temperature, and we went ahead and decided it would be a really good thing for our facility, for our university, and for the community to go ahead and be the venue for the event. Dakota State maintained all the financial obligation for the event, and obviously we, as Yankton and Mount Marty, got all of the we had all the teams stay in Yankton when they could, and I think he's maybe stretched out a little bit further. And then we generated pretty good interest for our university. So from that standpoint, it was good for us. I think it was good for Yankton. And what Rob's alluding to is they have in the past, obviously we had under 90 days, or it was basically more like 60 days once we had kind of figured out that the COVID testing would work, to try and help Dakota State the best we could, to make it financially work for them, to, and not completely take a bath in this event. And so Rob, myself, and their athletic director at Dakota State had a meeting to see if Yankton would have any means to contribute to the event itself. And I think Rob said this would probably be an after the fact kind of thing, and so that kind of leads us to where we're at now. Is that kind of what you're looking for, Rob?
Yeah, helpful. And so, Chris, I don't know if you had, Dakota State had come to the community and, was seeking different community partners potentially to say, they're going to take a significant, I don't know, $25,000 to $50,000 or more bath on the problem. Obviously, the community of Yankton's going to benefit, and our bid board revenues will benefit, our sales tax revenues will benefit, and other. And they're looking for sponsors and or resources in Yankton that can help them close their gap. Now, it was great exposure for Mount Marty, but a heck of a lot of effort and work. Chris, you communicated to me that, went in from Mount Marty, and really no revenues or anything special that Mount Marty gained from it other than some exposure. And so again, I worked with and talked with other leaders in the community and at the city, and just, where might there be resources to do anything if we were interested in doing anything to be a good neighbor to Dakota State in this issue. So Chris, can you help us at all define, I don't know, what shortfall they had, or what might be a reasonable number to consider if we were to consider doing anything?
Yeah. So, I believe when it's all said and done, they were able to trim some, really high ticket items out of the event, namely the banquet, which is a big deal in the NAI, but just due to the COVID restrictions, having 900 people in one location is probably not, wasn't going to make any sense. So so last year the event cost Dakota State about $110,000 to put on. They recouped in sponsorships. They were able to sell tickets. They recouped of 110. They recouped close to 105 to 107,000. So they lost somewhere between $3,000 and $5,000. If you ask why they do this, and just getting into the weeds, is they figure that if they basically kind of figured it, that if they can somehow either get break even or just lose a little bit, they'll gain in the idea that they have to send their athletes to Tennessee or Florida or wherever it's been in the past, Alabama, and that's going to be $2,000 an athlete. Even this year they had 5 athletes, so they figured that they're actually money ahead by doing this. I think they particularly like hosting these events, which I think is a good. It's good, and I think we enjoyed our week minus the COVID testing. We enjoyed our week too. So we've gone down from about $110,000 in expenses. It's down to I think somewhere in the neighborhood of $60,000 to $70,000. They retained some of their major sponsors, which were Premier, Sanford. Avera stepped up as a major sponsor for this event. The Great Plains Athletic Conference has stepped forward as a sponsor. We had meals provided by our food service. So we were able to pull together some pretty good sponsorships, some pretty good sponsorships even in a short amount of time. So I think we're probably looking in the range of $30,000. I think is kind of what I'm gauging, a $30,000 shortfall that they have. The one thing that they ask us was Brookings does provide the host fee for them, so they pay the host fee. In previous years it's $9,000 due to COVID. This year the NEI reduced it to $7,000, so they did ask us for the host fee, and so that's kind of where I think it's kind of where we're at. And like I said, again, that's $7,000.
So I'd be a proponent, and I would maybe Yeah, I would just make a motion. And, you know, and I'm, for the most part, I'm not sure if we should do anything. I guess I'm thinking that this is the source as good as any to share something back, to be a good neighbor with Dakota State. And I would make the motion that we approve a $7,000 payment to Mount Marty to share from the community with Dakota State. And I guess I'm not sure that this group should approve that. I guess convinced myself personally that it'd be a good idea for us to be a good neighbor and to support Mount Marty as a good neighbor to Dakota State. But I frankly, you know, don't know what you guys would think, and just wanted to bring that idea forward. I guess I think that we definitely will recoup or will have benefited more than $7,000 between bid board taxes for the hotel rooms that we sold, that we went to sold, and other sales tax revenues for the community.
This is Steve. I've got a question. So this is a one-time deal. I mean, the NAIA National Track Meet is never coming back to Yankton because we don't have an outside facility to support it. Is that correct?
Yes, it will not come back. Given the current guidelines that the NAI sets forth with regards to spectator seating, the facility and every other aspect is perfect to host a national meet. And actually was a phenomenal host for this event. The issue that we run into with trying to host it moving forward would be when you start getting into having actual attendance from, you know, parents and all that kind of stuff, and we don't have the seating capacity for that.
You know, and as a reminder, it worked out okay because due to COVID, they were not allowing any fans, and so Mount Marty still was a great host for it.
It did. I will say this though, Steve. It did really highlight Mount Marty as the premier, you know, facility for hosting track meets in the region, with just the extra size that we have and the turf on the infield and the ability for the teams to spread out. You know, the GPAC track is really good. So, you know, there was a significant number of GPAC athletes that were at this and have come to our events in the past. So it really did highlight us as the premier facility in the region. Just less the seating capacity is the only reason we wouldn't continue to host a national event.
Yeah, I can see where great exposure.
We have plenty in the CVB.
Go ahead, Steve, first.
All I was saying is the timing was really good for exposure of the field house. I mean, it's an unbelievable facility, and a lot of people got to see it. So the timing for that was fantastic. That's all I was going to say.
Bruce?
Yeah, my question is, do we have anybody on here from the CVB or anybody that can represent what money we have left in our grant money that's already been given to them for this year?
No, we don't.
Yeah, so that was part of the discussion that I had with you know, Nancy and Andy at the YPG Chamber CVB, and the response that I've got is that the CVB does not have any funding available for this.
Okay, well, yeah, and let me clarify this first of all. I'm 100% giving them money. I'm just concerned about where it comes from, and I guess I would kind of, I don't know the easy way to do it, but your motion actually didn't get a second, so we're just discussing the idea of it. But the concern I have is that, I know that the CPB has money that we give them every year for grants that people apply for, things just like this. And, I know that in 2020, only one was given. and actually we were the recipient for a national tournament, and it was $2,500. And just in speaking to Brittany, who works for me, that's on the CVB, whatever it is, committee, they thought that there was money left in there. And I'm curious to know, why that could be used if there was some, and, if we've got the cart ahead of the horse here. My big thing is I want to give them the money, and I would go along with doing it one way or the other, but I definitely think we should research where that money is that was set aside for things just like this.
That's a good question, Bruce, and I think we just have to get the answer for you and for this group. I don't think anybody here has the answer.
Another question, this is Steve, another question I would have is, as fast as the Democrats are printing money for COVID relief, I can't believe there aren't funds available to recapture things like this for colleges, especially national events. I am for probably helping because Bob Marty got a chance to show their new facility, and they did host the event. But I can't believe there's another fund that they can go to recapture some of their loss. And if we did give the money and they got reimbursed another way, and I'm just thinking out loud, that we get it back.
That's a good thought, Steve. I guess I would ask Rob if he would amend his motion to include that language that if they were reimbursed through another entity, we would get the money back.
I don't even know if they're trying, but I just can't believe there's not, like I said, as fast as they got money, they don't know where to spend it all. I can't believe this wouldn't be a good spot. There isn't a way to apply for it.
Yeah, that's a relevant point, Steve. Most of these kind of things are, again, we're in that we're talking about, what my number was, 7,000 or 7,500. 7,000, Chris?
Yes, Rob.
Yeah. All right. That just a little bit of chasing the money around and trying to identify where that 7 is. But I'd be happy to, I would revise my motion, and I guess maybe just make a new motion that we investigate the opportunity for this money to come from that fund in the CVB. That money remains available. And that if nothing is available from that remaining $11,000 that they got in their 2020 for this type of expenditure, then money come from the bid board up to $7,000 to with the ask that Dakota State return the money if they get reimbursed through federal COVID funds.
Is there a second?
Yeah, this is Steve, and I will second that.
Thank you, Steve. Are there any other questions or comments or concerns about this particular motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any dissenting votes? The motion carries unanimously. Thank you for the discussion, and grateful that Dakota State could host here. There will be some records that will never fall from that track. So, that's good. The next order of business is the next meeting date, directors, and reorganization. And Dave, if you could lead that discussion for us, please. Chris, could we have you mute?
I'm muted.
It looks
Okay.
like he's muted. I don't know where we've got a train going by over here in the background too. So I think we're just going to have to live with it a little bit. So I had a discussion, we didn't meet in 2020. And I had a discussion with the city attorney about the board of directors and memberships. And there are provisions, statutory provisions, whereby situations like this essentially lead us to the position of board members serve until their successors have been assigned. So even though we technically have a couple of board members whose terms have expired, you don't get off that easy. You technically serve until your successors have been assigned. So the discussion then is the city commission typically goes through the reassignment process for all the advisory boards, planning commission, city commission, airport board, etc., in the June timeframe. So unless this board has very strong feelings about a specific request to the commission to reorganize sooner than that, I would say the recommendation would be to let the current board serve and officers serve until we've got those new successors in place or people have been reappointed, and then have a meeting mid to late summer or fall like we have in the past, and get through a reorganization in that time frame. So that would be my discussion about timing for the next meeting, and also those board member term issues. If there's any questions, I can try and answer them.
No, I think that's fair, Dave, that we just continue the board as is for now. And as we roll out of this COVID downturn, I guess, we'll just look at it this fall. Is there any objection to that? Is there any other business that needs to come before the bid board? Going once, going twice. Well, with no other business needing to be discussed, I'll adjourn the meeting and wish you well, and we'll see you this fall as a board.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, guys.